Welcome to Mount Olivet Senior Secondary School. Praise the Lord, everyone. Here I am your history teacher, Miss Rita Tiwari, and we are going to start the first chapter of Indian history. Now, before starting the chapter, I would like to tell you something about class 12 history that we are going to study. Class 12 history consists of the Indian history. Like in 11 you have studied of the world history. Here you will be getting about the Indian history. Now Indian history is divided into three parts. That is the ancient, medieval and the modern history. And this first volume, that is of the ancient history, consists of the weightage of 24 marks. Now we are going to start from the first chapter, and the name of the chapter is Bricks, Bones and Beads. This chapter deals with the Harappan Civilization. Harappan Civilization is also known as the Indus Valley Civilization. The name kept as Indus Valley Civilization was that this civilization took place near the Indus River. There were certain other names which were used for the Harappan Civilization, but basically we know the two, that is the Harappan Civilization and the Indus Valley Civilization. Starting up, subsistence strategy. Now first of all, let me tell you what was Harappan Civilization, why we are studying the Harappan Civilization. Harappan Civilization is said to be the beginning of the Indian history because it was a very unique civilization. It was not a common one. It had certain special unique features because of which it was important to study and know about it. And the unique feature was the uniformity. When talking of the map location, it consists of the areas near Balochistan, Afghanistan, some part of India, that is Gujarat, Jammu. Most of it is in Pakistan. Now, Harappan Civilization will study about the subsistence strategies, what the people ate, what kind of agriculture technologies they used. They ate plants, they had destructive agriculture technologies. It was all in the grid pattern. Grid pattern means having an angle of 90 degree. Also we know this by terracotta images. The image, terracotta image, that is the terracotta clay image was found, and by this we know that when we see the image, it was of a bull. This implies that they were known, they had the knowledge of bull, and that they used it in the agriculture. Now first site to be discovered was Harappa. That is why we call it as Harappan Civilization. But when we call of the first urban site, we know it to be the Mohenjodaro. These are the two very important places of Harappan Civilization. Now Mohenjodaro is divided into two parts, that is the citadel and the lower part. When talking of the citadel, it was a little higher compared to the lower town, but smaller in size. And the lower town, by the name itself we can see it was little lower than citadel, but it was very large. Now one unique feature in the citadel was the great bath. People from the lower town, they went to the citadel to take bath. Now why would anyone travel so far and go for a bath? Of course this bath was not a common one. There was something related to this, so we can justify it saying that the great bath was something very holistic. So it is also known as the holy bath. It was a rectangular tank, and at all the four sides there were stairs, and there was also changing room. It was very well prepared. Now when talking of the Harappan Civilization, we see these people were very uniform, they were very well organized. Like here you see some of the more features that by which we can tell this is the drainage system. Harappans had great drainage system in the grid pattern. Again in the grid pattern, that is making a 90 degree. Each houses were attached to a drain. It seemed like first the drains were made and then the houses were made, because none house was far from the drain. So we can say it was a very organized civilization. Now coming to the social differences, like what was the kind of society that the Harappans had. Now social differences are known by the burials. Now burials are when people died in Harappan civilization, they were buried. They were buried, and these burials said a lot of things about them. Like we can say that by seeing the burials, we could understand if this person was belonged to a lower family or to a privileged family. Like when the people were buried, along with their body near the head, the certain goods were also buried with them, and this is because they believed in life after death. Now these belongings were for the poor one the necessities, the utilitarian things, like we can say a pot, a plate to eat food, and as such. But when talking of the higher status people, we see that there were certain precious ornaments or some luxuries like a mirror and certain other goods that were buried along their body. Now there were some burials which were seen very beautifully decorated. They were not just buried, it was cemented, they were the bricks, it was surrounded by the bricks, cemented, well buried, and this also showed that there was this kind of social difference in the society. Now coming to the craft production. When talking of the craft production, we see that these Harappans, they were very much into crafts. They made out of the beads, out of shell cuttings, metal tools. There were many things which they crafted, and these crafts were imported and exported. So some well-known craft production areas were Chanodaro. Again, there we see the Lothal. Also, not only in the town area, but there were some near the coast, that is Nageshwar, Balakot. These were near the coast, and as we know, craft production is always done from the areas where we have the raw materials. Like Nageshwar and Balakot, they were near the coast, so shell was used, and that was used to make bangles and beads and certain other goods. Okay, now identifying certain production. When the goods were seen, it was identified that this production were done in the area where the goods actually were available. Next comes the strategies for procuring materials. Procuring materials means importing raw materials from other places for craft production. These were sometimes beyond the subcontinent, and sometimes the goods produced were sent to other continents. Now how we can know this? We have certain proofs of some goods that were made by the Harappans, or say some goods which were made by the Harappans, the raw material was not available there, rather it was imported from Afghanistan or Oman or as such. Now how do we know this? We come to know about it because there were certain distinctive seals that belonged to the Harappans. As I told you, that Harappans were very uniform. They had a uniformity, and these Harappans never missed out their seal on their goods. Whatever they received or whatever they exported, there were certain seals, and these seals were the unique and distinctive one which they used on every import and export. And how this import and export was done beyond the subcontinent? This was done through the sea route. Now coming to the next, that is the seals, scripts and weights. When goods were sent, it was exported or imported, the Harappans, they made an impression, a seal. Like suppose there is a sack where the goods are filled in the sack, and now they bind it, and then they used to take a wet clay, and then they placed it on the mouth of the sack, and then on that they left an impression, and this impression was a distinctive seal of the Harappans. Now this seal sometimes consisted of the name of the sender or a symbol, Now the other purpose, why these seals were so important was, first of all, it had the names of the sender or the receiver. Secondly, this gave and this gave a proof. If the seal were not broken, it proved that the transfer was an authentic one. Okay. Now coming to the next, it is scripts. Now it was an enigmatic script. Why enigmatic script? It was actually not understood. Today we cannot decipher. Decipher means that cannot be read out or understood. So it contains certain signs and symbols which the seals had such inscriptions along with the name of the sender, the receiver. Many of the times the archaeologists, they could not understand about it. Now when talking of the archaeologists, we see that archaeologists have come to know so much of the Harappan civilization by the remains. They made certain excavations. Excavations means digging out the ground and finding out the remains and then examining them, by which we have certain conclusions, we had certain proof, and certain analysis are made on the basis of that. Now it is all about analysis. Let me clear you this, that everything in Harappan civilization, we can say that this was just the analysis of the archaeologists or the historians. So sometimes you might find certain different views, certain different debates on certain goods. Now coming to this, we see that the script had certain symbols and signs, and so it was an enigmatic one. But one thing that was sure, that is that the script was written from left to right. How can we say this? While we start writing from the left, we write it in a very normal way, but as we come to the end of the line, we start up to just adjust the words, we start up making it very congesting. So seeing the writing, we could understand that the Harappans, they wrote from left to right. Now next comes the weights. The stones were matured stones, were basically used as weights. These were in the cubical form, and they had no marking on it. But the denominations, of course, were in the binary form, that is 2, 4, 8, 16, and so on. Now coming to the next, that is the ancient authority. When we talk of the Harappan civilization, I have said you earlier that they were very unique. They were very unique, they had uniformity, they were all same. Wherever you go in Harappan civilization, you see the same kind of work done, be it the bricks, be it the seals, be it anything. They had the uniformity in that. Now when we see such uniformity, the question comes up, was there someone who was governing them? Was there someone who was telling them what to do, and everyone was so loyal to follow that? So yes, of course, this uniformity gives us a kind of a hint that of course there was someone who was guiding these people. But we cannot surely say that they had kings, because many historians, they claim that there was no one who guided them, and they were just uniform because they did not know much, so they followed each other. And some do say that yes, there was someone who was guiding them, because such an uniformity is not possible without a governance. So it was said that a statue was found of a person in a very calm posture, wearing a very royal shawl, with a beard and hair, and this person was seemed to be like a priest. And this statue was found in many places. Just like as we have the statues of gods everywhere, likewise we see that in the Harappan civilization. So we can say that this was the same person was found everyone. That means this person was someone who was followed and valued and respected by many of the people. So we call him, a name was given in the Mesopotamian also civilization. We find this reference, that is the priest king. So this person was assumed to be the priest king, and the one who everyone followed and obeyed to. They say that Harappans, some archaeologists say that Harappans had no kings. Everyone was equally treated. They had no kings, and they say that the different people, they had different views. But these all are not so true. The more we can accept the fact being that it was uniform. So of course there must be someone who was guiding them. Now, end of the civilization. The Harappan civilization, as I have been telling you, that this was a very unique civilization. There was very much discipline, uniformity, and yet we see that this civilization ended. How do we come to know this? We come to know this because of the fact that around 1800 BC, now when I talk of the Harappan civilization, we see that it started in the time duration is from 2600 BC to 1300 BC. Okay, so here we see that during the 1800 BC there was no new constructions made, no public construction, no new buildings, no houses were seen, no new technologies were seen, everything slowed down, no business, the import and export, everything was stuck. So how can we tell there was an end? This is the basis. Here we come to know that if nothing new was done, that means the civilization was coming to an end. But how did it vanish? Now we see that this could have been done due to some natural calamities, and the natural calamities could be earthquake, excessive land use, landscape, deforestation, flood, etc. Now discovering the Harappan civilization. Now Harappan civilization is not forgotten by people. Actually, many a times now, even today, if I can tell you that even today, archaeologists are still trying to find out the more and more facts of the Harappans. Till today, they have been doing that. And there was many who has done prior, like we have the Cunningham. Cunningham, he was the first general, Director General of ASI, that is the Archaeological Survey of India, and he started excavation in India in the 19th century. He had the Chinese pilgrims accounts where he saw that he thought that it was related to Harappan era. He found some notes, accounts of the Chinese pilgrim, and he thought it belonged to the Harappan era. But the fact being that no resemblance was found with Harappa. The Chinese pilgrim's account was different and the Harappans was different. So his confusion was it the same? Okay, now coming to a new old civilization. Now why we call it a new old civilization? It is the old civilization but researched in a new way, the new technology, the new method. New techniques and questions were like, see, when they started to excavate that old Harappan civilization again, here the technique was new, and this new technique was stratigraphic. It means to excavate layer by layer, which whatever goods were found on the upper layer, this belonged to the newest, and as we go deeper and deeper and deeper, we find that these are the older one. Okay, this was a new technology that was used. Now coming to the next, that is a problems of piecing together the past. Many goods used in the civilization are unknown till today. Like we cannot say many things see, when the archaeologist has gone for the survey, they have seen that many goods were destroyed. Some of them were not understood what was the purpose of these goods, why they were using it. Okay, and they also did not know how these things were made. Certain things were so unique, style was there and the crafts were so unique, but people could not understand what technique they must have used to do this. Understood? So this was the problem to be piercing. Now to understanding what in the past was the method that they were using. Next problem that they find is the classifying finds. Now what are the finds? Finds are the things, the remains that the archaeologists have found in the Harappan civilization. It was a very big task to be organizing them, in classifying them, better we can say classifying them, because we see the lifestyle of the people, what things belong to the utilitarian and what things came under the list of the luxuries. This was not so understood by the archaeologists. Like if I give you an example of today's day, like if I talk of fan, some say it is a necessity, it is a utilitarian thing, while the other might say that this is just luxury. Though we are not having any doubt regarding the air condition, that of course we count in the luxury, but a fan cannot be said to be luxury, while some can also consider. So these are kind of the problems that they find. Like if we say of the Harappan civilization, they found a copper mirror. Now talking of the copper mirror, we can say that might be this was a necessity, a utilitarian thing which the women's used because they had to be indoor, they could not meet many people, so might be it could be one of a very utilitarian thing. Or on the other hand, we can say it was just a luxury for the privileged women, not for the common women. Understood? These were some of the problems that they were facing. Now here we come to the end of the chapter. Thank you so much for listening, and I would request you to go through your textbook and try to understand. If there is any doubt, we shall clear it once the school reopens. Thank you so much. Praise the Lord. God bless.